Hello, and if you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, welcome to our Right Here, Right Now conversation today with an awesome human being. Happy birthday, in fact, to Michael Padurano. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, Gary. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I really do.
No, well, it's great to get this conversation. I think we were really joking, weren't we, when we were I think Mike, myself, and a couple of the Humans First community joined you a couple of weeks ago, and it's just one of those really fascinating things. We can be inverted commas connected on LinkedIn, but so rarely do we actually truly connect with people that we're connected with on LinkedIn. And I find that really is really meaningful to finally actually have that time with you a few weeks ago. So how are you today? What's on your heart and mind today, Mike?
I mean, it's my birthday, so I mean, what's on? It's the first. To be completely transparent, it is the first birthday that I've had in the last. I'm 42 today. In the last at least 36 years, that I'm excited for. I have always despised my birthday. And today it's different. My life is different today than it was a year ago. I'm a different person than I was a year ago. Me and you have had these conversations. As you go through that work and you start doing work on yourself and you go on these journeys and you start going deep and you get connected spiritually and you start finding your soul center and where you're meant to be in this world, everything around you just gets better. It's not about situations, circumstances. It has nothing to do with any of those things. It's an internal thing.
Boom. Rabbit hole. Love it. There we are. What are we in? 1 minute, I think.
Yeah. It doesn't take me long to get into those. I mean, I'll go. I mean, I love it. I love these conversations.
No, it's brilliant, Michael. I think I'd love to sort of go. So let's explore that a bit more for those that may be kindly joining us now or in the future. But what I'd really like just to start with is, so the show is right here, right now. What is it in the moment for you as you reflect? It is your 42nd birthday. You say it's the first year you've really been excited for. What's different within you today, right here, right now, compared to maybe birthdays in the past?
I'm at a place of fulfillment, personal fulfillment. I have personal freedom, and I found my inner peace.
Can you tell us a bit more about that last one? Because that last one, the inner peace part, is one that I think I still undulate with. But can you speak to that a bit more? Expand on that. What does that look and feel like for you, and how did you sort of get there? Would be really interesting for our viewers, I think.
So here's the thing, right? We weren't going to talk about this, but now I have to because we're going into how I got here, right? So me and my partner Annie Lieb co-created something called the Breath Framework, and basically emulates our journey over the last year together and parallel, and how we both have gone from mind-centered to heart-centered to soul-centered. When we both stepped into our soul centers at quasi same time, quasi different time, within a few weeks of each other, as we did that, we realized that we found our inner peace because we are truly living within our core values on a daily basis. We don't wobble from it. We don't sway from it. We don't go outside of them for anything. We don't compromise our core values anymore. So that is how we found inner peace, is by moving into those core values, being accountable to ourselves, being self-aware enough to call ourselves out and each other out when we're stepping out of line, or moving away from our truest selves. It's a very intense process. It's a very detailed process, but if you want it, it's there for you, and it's laid out clearly. I mean, me and you have talked about it. You've done deep inner work too, and what we did was we did the deep inner work, and then we just kept pushing further. We just didn't stop. And as we kept evolving, we just kept getting further and further along in our process and our own personal journeys. And what we noticed is as we started reaching our soul centers and found that inner peace, that fulfillment, that place of fulfillment, that you're bulletproof no matter what happens around you, nothing can take it away from you. When we found that place, we said, we've got to recreate this to share this with the world. And that's what we've been doing.
Wow. God, like right here, right now in this moment, there's like a million different directions I want to go with you on that. But I still work in corporate. So I still work in corporate, and I always think about like devil's advocate. So imagine you've got senior leaders running multi-billion-dollar corporations. They're in their head. They've got to hit the numbers. It's about next quarter. It's this soul center stuff. Like, is it really like worth me investing time in? What would you say to that person that sort of got to hit the numbers, busy. I've got to get the best out of my people. Would you tell them that getting close to that soul center is going to get them even better results, for example? Or is there other stuff you would give as a message to those people?
I would bet my life on it.
Wow. Okay.
I would put my life on it. And the reason I say that is because when you're coming from a place of fulfillment, you're coming from a place of abundance within your heart and soul, and you're coming from such a place of inner peace, your decision-making ability shifts, everything about how you interact with people shifts, and how you value human credit and human capital over dollars and cents increases. And when that starts happening, the humans and the people around you start rallying around you and outperform any previous numbers, because not only do they believe in what they're doing, they believe in themselves more, and they believe in the bigger purpose. So yeah.
It's I tell you, I always love someone that'll put their life on it. Like, that's a pretty good bet. That's someone that's pretty committed. But what I also want to throw into the mix now, because people may be going, okay, great, a couple of guys here with not so much hair left, their lives must have been hard. Where's all their hair gone? Like, and I'm like, I'd love you that's watching us right now, whether live or on the playback. We both work in business development. Like, we are metric hunters. We like growing businesses. We like growing people. It's like, so Michael and I today, I just want to frame this for people that are watching us. Like, we are not coming from a quote unquote fluffy, soft, purely sort of esoteric point of view. Like, we know this stuff works because we've done the work and we really like growing people and businesses. Is that a fair point, Mike?
1,000,000% yes. I mean, granted, financial security is the least of all my securities that I worry about, because I know it comes with the work that's put in. And I know that it follows with the intent. And I don't always get paid from the direction that I'm putting my energy, but it comes back in a different way at all times, always. No doubts, no questions.
Wow. I just love how, like, every sentence, it's really interesting. I love you to tell us a bit more about this soul center, because I can feel it energetically from you, actually, that the way you finish your sentences, right? It's like, that's it. Matter of fact. Like,
it's an absolute. It's an absolute. It's finite. It works. I mean, I was a broken human being. I mean, I've had 13 near-death experiences. I was abused as a child. I got thrown out of 2 high schools. I never graduated high school. I had a GED. I started drinking at 9, doing hardcore drugs at 12. I had a death wish for years. I couldn't die no matter how hard I tried. One of the shamans that I work with is like, you've fought so long to die. Why don't you just enjoy to live? And these are all things that I picked up along the way, and I speak to people every day, and I work with people all over the world in all different ways. I'm always giving insight. I'm always trying to help. I'm always trying to give pointers. What I realized is I needed to turn that inward so that I can reflect outward even more powerful. So the framework that we've created is the breath framework. Begin where you are, reclaim your power, excavate your core values, allow, not control, which is huge. That's a huge one. That's a tough one that I still go with every day because it's not easy. And then through, not around, right? Because you don't want to go around stuff. You want to go through it, especially the pain and the struggles and you want to go through your pain points, because then you can start healing them. And that's where H is, where you start healing them. And we've broken this down into this process that it's an intuitively based coaching, leading, inspiring, light worker, whatever you want to label it. It's intuitively based conversations, and it's all about meeting the person where they're at, and then being able to help them unfold their journey from a second set of eyes. I mean, I've been a millionaire 3 times, homeless 5 times. I've gone through it. I've been extremely successful. I've lost everything numerous times. There has never been a time that I've lost everything that I can't bounce back from. The 2 extra homeless times with a house fire wasn't my fault. And currently I'm stranded 1,200 miles from home, and my lease ended because I've been stranded 16 months. So again, not my fault, but these are the circumstances. This is the situation. And during this 16 months, I found my happiest moments of my life. Losing everything, I found my happiest moments in my life. I found complete fulfillment and peace and this soul-centered way of living within my core values, that I don't care how much money people offer me, I will not sway from. I've already had it. I can make it again on the right way. What do I need to worry about it for the wrong ways? I know I'm that confident in myself.
It's great. And you know what? I think it's beautiful to observe, and I hope people are picking up on this. Like, there's a difference between confidence and arrogance. Yeah, like you're confident, you believe in yourself.
Yes.
You're not discounting anybody else. And I think that's where people get confused sometimes. They think, oh, I'm so confident, I believe myself, I love myself, I'm coming from a good possible place. And suddenly that ego kicks in and goes, yeah, but you can't be that good a person. Society doesn't let you. You've got to climb on people to progress or to make more money. And what you're basically showing and embodying, which is brilliant, is like, no, like it's fine to be confident and to really like yourself. Like that's actually okay. Contrary to what maybe popular media tells you.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, it's really simple. When I first met Annie before this journey even started, I told her, I said, I'm going to be the first trillionaire, but I'm going to give 97% of it away because I don't care. It's just money. It means nothing. If I have my needs covered, then what do I care? It's just money. I am only as strong as the people that I lift up around me. That's the only version of my strength that matters. Is how do I inspire and how do I help others? How do I empower them? Right? I don't want to inspire others. I want to inspire others to be self-inspired because I want to give them their own power. I don't want to hold power over anyone. I don't need power over anyone. I have my own power. Everybody has their own unique power, and it's time for everybody to stand into it. Society needs it. The world needs it. It's like the article that you shared the other day. It's right on point. 99.9% of the world population doesn't realize that they have the power, not the 0.3%. But we allow the 0.3% to control because they have this thing called money, which is dead guys' faces on paper. At the end of the day, that's, there's 8 billion. There's 8 billion of us. 0.3% can't control 8 billion. It just can't. And this isn't about an uprising. This is about true equality. This is about true inclusion. This is about true equity, sitting at the table and making decisions that's for the betterment of humanity, not betterment for lining your pockets. The only thing you can do with money is commerce, exchange, possess. Well, what if we didn't have to do those things to be the best, to be the most successful, to be the most wealthy? What if wealthy was gauged upon how happy we are, how many others we've inspired to be happy? Why does it have to be based on financial worth? Who cares about that? I look at the Forbes list. What does it matter? It doesn't matter. Who cares? What are you doing to help others? That's what I want to know. What have you done since your company, your passion turned into a unicorn? What have you done with it since? And there's many that do great things that we never hear about again because they don't care. They don't care about the public image. They don't care about staying on that list. They want to go inspire the world to be better. They don't care about staying there. The ones that want to stay there and want to accrue more wealth and then want to control even non-for-profits in turn. What is this? Like, the system's set up for control by the few. Maybe it's time to shift the system.
I would agree. And I think it's funny, actually, I just came off a conversation with Peter Griffiths from the Mind Takeaway. And we're having this very conversation around actually, what are systems, Michael, at the end of the day? They're actually collective illusions. Like, they're not actually tangible. You can't, there's no border control. Like, there's no country border. It's all made up. We've bought into this collective illusion. It's not easy to unpick, but we do. The one I always joke about the most is, like, I've just moved home with my wife and family, and it's amazing, and I love the property. But I really laughed when I signed these documents going, we're transferring ownership. Because who owns the land? Like, we don't really own. Like, no one really owns it. Like,
right.
Mother Nature's the only person that really owns anything.
Yeah.
Like, but we collectively believe in these systems, which means we can collectively unbelieve them as well. Which I think is the power that you're speaking to.
Well, the only way to get to that point is for everybody to understand their self-worth and to everybody to understand their own internal power, right? And that's why it's not taught in the education systems. That's why it's not taught throughout schooling and to youth, to understand their value and understand their self-worth, what they bring to the table as their own unique individual. Because if that was understood, if that was known, then the powers that be would start losing power. So why would they want to empower humanity to be the best that it can? Why would they want to inspire humanity to be self-inspired? Because then they don't need to depend on them.
Brilliant. And what's really fun as well, something I think about as you're speaking, is when we talk about empowerment, you spoke to, I'm going to use different language for me. I was having some fun on Clubhouse recently, again with Peter actually, and we actually set up a room called the Empowerment Room, I-N, not E-M. Such a simple little shift But when we talk about empowerment, we're talking about from the inside out,
Yep.
becoming empowered. And we might draw on the energy of those around us to feel more empowered, but it's our own work to show up fully from the inside out. We're not waiting, I'm not waiting for Michael to give me his power. Michael might help me by creating the conditions to let me step into my own power,
Yes.
but I'm not waiting for Michael to give me his so I feel better. And I think this is the really critical point, isn't it, that I think we tend to miss when we talk about empowerment.
It is. And if you go back to the breath framework real quick, one last time.
Please. No, we can keep going there. It's a great framework.
What we've done in that is create the safe space to house it, right? Because we created the space to bring it to the table. We collectively brought it, Annie and I together, or me and Annie, or whatever you want to say. Grammar is not my strong suit. I need Grammarly really.
No, mate, don't worry.
Grammarly's perfect. I wish they would have had it when I was in school. I would have never failed, literature. And audiobooks too, that would have helped. But like, I look at this and it's like, we created a space for this to be born together. We created a space and then just replicated the work that we did and created steps around it for others. And when we have these conversations, we're holding space for them and really reflecting back in a different lens in our perception of what they're going through, being on the other side of where they're at. So really all we're doing is helping them to see themselves in a different light and want to dig deeper to get into it. And that's really where we're at. And that's really where humanity is starting to realize today. And it's a very slow crawl. I mean, let's not pretend this is quick.
Yeah.
This has been decades, right? Decades of, gurus and, like you said, fluffy people and, lofty ideas and whimsical and hippies even, right? Like just, living in this mindset of little by little, just putting it out to the world. And there's so much truth and logic to it. And there's so much peace within it. Because it's not as much about, I don't want to acquire wealth. I don't want to have possessions. I don't want to, I don't want to live in a van, for the rest of my life with my 3 kids. What I want, and I'm in an Airbnb now, so I'm not saying I'm in a van, just in case child services is watching. So, but what I'm saying is, like, I want to have enough.
Yeah.
I don't need to be, gluttonous with everything. I don't need to be greedy. I want to have enough so that I can give back. I want to create things to help others find their power so they don't need to take anymore and they want to be inspired. How do you take homeless people and get them from being homeless to being a fully fledged, contributor to society? You make them believe that they have a value. You show them that they have a value. They're not meant to live on a street and be treated like, scum. They have their own intrinsic value. And if you created a housing project to give them something where they felt worthy, they would want to lift themselves up to believe that they deserved it and know that they deserved it. And then they would want to create ways to help others find that. So why aren't we empowering more people? Because if we do, then that means the ones in power lose some of their power. And it's simple math. Nobody wants to give up what they have. So,
but as you say, no one wants to give up what they have. But when we look at the challenges that we have, and again, like I say, you've been on your journey, I've been on mine. From bullying through to, in the workplace, and when I was a kid, and we've all got a story. But I think the critical part is back to your early stage of your brief framework is actually we need to go into that story. I think I look around the world, like it's only my view, my perception, and it's only one human being. But I see a lot of hurting people. Like, I don't believe anybody wants to oppress or bully or dehumanize another human. I just don't believe we're wired that way. We don't come onto the planet to want to demonize and dehumanize other human beings. So I just think there's just a lot of hurt. And I really love the framework you're bringing, because it is very intuitive. And I'm just really excited, actually, because until today, I hadn't actually had the time to dive into your framework. And it feels energetically a very, very intuitive framework. So how do you, I want to play a little bit of hypothetical, because I love people to bring this to life. So imagine someone's watching us now and they're going, I'm really curious about this breathe framework. I do know that I've got a few stories in my head that I've not really dealt with. I don't necessarily feel like I need therapy per se, but I probably could do with community to try and like work through this or understand other people's experience of life. What would you say to them if they were curious, and would you invite them in? How would they start to work with you or to have a conversation with you?
They could either reach out to me or Annie, right? Annie Lieb, Leib. She's all over LinkedIn. You can't miss her. She's everywhere. She's posting every day, and she's very engaged. I'm not. I'm the one that's more in the background, but I do a lot of live shows and do a lot of stuff behind the scenes. But, okay, so if you want to know more, reach out to one of us, schedule a half-hour call. We do not charge for it. We just have a conversation. And if during that 30 minutes you do not receive any value from it, then we both walk away and you spend 30 minutes of your time having a conversation. If you receive value, then we can talk about one-on-one coaching, we talk about the group coaching, or we could even just talk about the weekly clubhouse rooms, or the Soul Experience Live, the Soul Experience Live show, which is her rebranding of her old podcast, which was Living with Anitude. And now what we're doing is every week we're going through one letter of the breath framework with the guest who has experience in that area or who communicates that part of the story the best. And that's what we have done is every week it's going to be one letter. And every week it's going to be from a different person's perspective, a diversified group of people that have all different walks of life. And it's going to really express how it's worked for them in their own words. And these aren't people that have gone through the breath work, but these are people that have found their own way. We're just going and cultivating it through our own style and what worked for us. Because I had every escapism, every addiction, workaholic, sex addict, porn addict. I mean, everything. I went through it all. And I don't care about those things anymore. I'm not there. It's not there for me anymore. I'm not filling any voids.
I love not filling any voids. I'd love to come back to that. I'd love to share. Thanks very much for joining us, Noreen, today. I believe we all have a responsibility to help others and serve almost like a rental fee for our space and time on this planet. How beautiful. I think that we can provide the support, help, resources and tools to people to help them feel empowered and rise up. What a wonderful phrase. I would like a rental fee for our space and time on the planet. What do you think to that, Michael?
I love that. And the reality is, I mean, we're not even a speck of dust on the timeline, right? Like, they're saying that the planet's 4 trillion years old or whatever it is, 4 billion, 4 trillion. I don't know.
Yeah, 4.3 billion, I think they said.
Yeah, it's one of those illions, right? So
yeah.
It gets confusing after a few extra zeros. But we're here for 100 years.
Yeah.
That's nothing. But in 100 years, we can destroy the planet, and we're proving it day over day. In 100 years, we can choose to make a change and reverse this destroying of the planet. We're only here for 100 years. You might want to make your impact while you're here because you're only coming back once. I'm very spiritual. I've lived many past lives. I can go through most of them with you. I can really recount most of them, who I was, what I did, everything else, because that's part of my journey, right? Part of my path. Yeah. And I don't put that on anyone else. But this is the only time I'll be me. This is the only time I'll be Michael Padurano. And if I don't make my impact as me, nobody else is going to. So I have a choice. I either collapse under the pressures of society and fit in like everybody else wants to disappear behind the illusion of fitting in, or I become me and make my mark. And I'm going to make my mark. I'm just going to. I'm not going to settle. It's just not who I am.
I would say that you are, and I'm like I say, that's what this platform's all about. This right here, right now conversation is to lift other people up and get these stories out, because it's what's so important is that we are not having an anti anybody or anything conversation. Like that's what's really important in this space. This is not about good versus evil, bad versus good. Like this is about actually collectively as the singular human race we are, with this really limited timeline, as you said, that we're on the planet. How do we make the most of it and try and remember we are actually a social species that have been gifted, as Noreen shared beautifully, a limited amount of space as we borrow this planet from Mother Earth, And I think, what would it look like if we embraced every interaction? And I'm challenging myself here, by the way. If we embraced every interaction, every moment, every conversation from that place of not urgency from a panic point of view, but like, actually, what if this conversation you and I are having right now was my last conversation? How would I feel about that? Has it been time well spent? Did I feel we exchange energy well? Are we trying to bring goodness? Like, that is a really powerful way to live, rather than actually, how do I look over my shoulder and make sure that the boss is okay and that, like, politically I'm moving on in the organization. It starts to look really silly, doesn't it? The sort of stuff we chase. And I'm guilty of it, and I still fall into it. But like, when we look at it through those two different lenses, there's so much freedom in this empowerment you speak of, Michael. So much freedom.
It's personal freedom. And that's the difference, right? That is the difference. Personal freedom means that you are free to be yourself under any and all circumstances, without any hindrance, any outside forces, anyone interacting or trying to change you from that personal free space. That is true empowerment. That is self-empowerment. That is self-accountability, self-ownership. It's being able to live in a space that you are allowed to live your life with the purest of intent possible to be your best self every single moment of every day.
So cool. We're coming up to the last few minutes of our chat today, and we knew this would happen, didn't we?
Yeah.
We knew that, like 30 minutes, that's proper flow. Tell us a little bit. I'm really curious, in case, like, trying to bring a little bit of extra value for anyone that watches us, Michael. Is that, what have you learned about yourself during, like, you've been in a really unique situation, sort of stranded in your current location? Is there sort of an insight or two you can share as to maybe what you've learned about yourself during this period? Is there anything new? Is there anything sort of anything new or anything maybe reinforced for you over the last 12 months?
August was the first time in my 42 years I ever said I love myself. August of last year. So what did I learn about myself? Quite a bit. I mean, I've done a lot of work, and I finally got to a place that I love myself, and I'm in love with myself, and I'm comfortable in my own skin, and I have my personal freedom to just be me. I'm not worried about outside accolades or outside approval or even validation anymore. Now, I appreciate it. Now, see, being grateful for it and appreciating it when it comes, that's a different story, right? Mm-hmm. That's gratitude. But living in my soul center and being at such a sound-centered point that I know who I am at my core means that my voice, my opinion of myself matters more than an outside opinion, no matter who it's from. And that's the difference today.
That's amazing. And I'll be completely vulnerable, as you know, I always am. Like, I've literally been on an undulation myself over the last few months. I've been so in my head, honestly, you know, with you know, the sort of social justice challenges, seeing that corporations don't really seem to be embracing not only inclusion, but more humane ways of working. We're still myopically focused on just the metric. So there's all these sort of swirling things. And I've been going down all these different rabbit holes, Michael, and I'm just so appreciative of the reminder you've given me personally, but also the listener today, that it does start, that soul center is brilliant, like the center of us individually. Mm-hmm. If we don't start there, we can't make the impact on the outside world that we would love to make. And I'm talking to myself as well as anybody else, because I think it's so critical, the work you're bringing. So thank you for that.
It's one of those things that if you want to see the world change, you got to change you. If you want to see the change in the world, then change yourself first. It's whatever that quote is. I don't remember exactly where it came from, who said it. I'm horrible with those things, bad with names. But that's okay. I mean, I'll never claim it to be my own, so it's a win. You know, most things are my own. I perceive them in my own way and regurgitate it in the way that I understand it, right? That's all that we ever do, is recite information that's already been told to us. It's very, very rare that anything's completely original. We all have a voice. We all have a story. There's 8 billion people on this planet. If one person doesn't share their story, then the ripple effect from impacting the rest of the 8 billion is enormous, because whoever could relate and emulate your story is going to miss out on that, and you don't know how that's going to impact the rest of the chain. We're all interconnected. We all have to start within it. We all have to start in ourselves first. And if we get to that point, and then everybody starts spreading their story and their wins and their internal moral compass, soul-centered self is living within that core values that they have, the world is going to elevate tremendously. And that's all we need to do, is inspire others to be self-inspired, to want to take that journey. Because it's not an easy journey, but if they want it, they'll do it.
And you know something, I'd also add to that as well. and I just want to reinforce your message that everybody's experience matters. And I think this is so critical. And this is something that I've really dived into, particularly, with the events of the last 12 months, has been that, everybody is valid. Everybody is important. Everybody's humanity deserves, my personal purpose very simply is everybody has the right to be seen, the right to be heard,
Yes.
and the right to thrive as a whole human. Like, that's what my genuine, deepest belief is. And that goes for every single human being that's on the planet. And that's sort of what fuels me now, is actually how can I try and do my own very small part within my sphere of influence to try and make sure that anyone I interact with can actually truly, truly embrace that. Because I know today, Michael, not everybody does have that opportunity. So you're doing great work creating the space to allow people to step into that. So thank you.
But here, thank you, and I appreciate that, Gary. I really do. And here's the thing: you don't know how you're going to impact the world personally. You might be one person out of 8 billion, but for a ripple effect to start, it's got to start within you, and you don't know where that ripple effect is going to go. Because it's like dominoes. The minute that you do and you make these changes, those closest to you start making changes because they want what you have. They watched you evolve and they want to get to that point for themselves. I can never be at where Gary's highest point is, but I can be where my highest point is. But why not strive for mine, right? Why not want to be at my own personal peace and fulfillment and soul-centered living and living within my core values? Never once do I question an action anymore because I know my intent is pure. Because it's within my core values.
So good. I really appreciate Noreen is dropping the fire with us today. Absolutely dropping us the fire. If you want to be an agent of change, change yourself. And I think also thanks very much, Nicole, for joining us. Yeah, everyone matters. We have to know that and also not compare ourselves to others. Beautiful, beautiful.
Yes.
Ad. So run your race. I absolutely love that.
It's
so good. So good. So, Michael, let us know, how can people find you? I'll just pop your LinkedIn across the bottom. I'm sure they'll be able to find you pretty easily. But any other particular websites or people?
I mean, you can go to annielieb.com. I mean, we're still updating it all. We're putting my profile on there too, and we're doing all those things. But yeah, I mean, little by little, it's all coming together. I mean, in the last 45 days, we've rebranded everything about her business, and built everything from scratch in the last 45 days. So.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm actually looking to, while we're still live, I'm trying to do a Gary Learning in the Moment, Working Out Loud classic. I'm trying to see if I can actually get a LinkedIn profile. Yeah, it's probably gonna be an epic fail for now. Anyway, I did try, Michael. But we'll definitely get Annie onto the platform.
Yeah, we'll definitely will, because you would love a conversation with her too. She's a lot more energetic than I am.
I'm pretty terrified based on your energy, what she's going to be like. So I look forward to connecting with her. Any final passing insight? Maybe a final invitation for anyone that's with us now or may watch this recording back. What would you like to leave with people at the end of this conversation, Michael?
What would I like to leave? Find your truest you. That's it. Just find your truest you. Don't worry about anybody else. Don't worry about anything else. The only way that I was able to make this change is if I put myself first, and that even means in front of my kids. And I'm a single father of 3, stranded 1,200 miles from home for the last 16 months. And my 3 children were abused and neglected before I got there. So, I had to put myself first, or they would have never been able to get to where they're at today.
Wow. Well, as they say on lots of social media, mic drop, I think, Michael. That's probably that bit. So, look, thanks so much for your time. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. I really appreciate your work. Love the framework. And I think, the time is now, truly.
It is.
For people to step into your work. So, again, thanks, Noreen. Thanks, Nicole. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. And, Michael, happy birthday and have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Gary.
Take care, my friend. All the best.
All right.